Welcome to my channel Valuable Coins, All World. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. The 1965 Washington quarter dollar is a coin that many people may overlook, simply because it was minted in relatively high quantities and appears similar to most other quarters from the 1960s. But, as is often the case with coins, there's more than meets the eye. What makes this particular quarter so intriguing is its place in U.S. history and the potential for significant value, especially for coin collectors and enthusiasts who know what to look for. While most 1965 quarters are worth just their face value of 25 cents, there are some rare and valuable examples that can fetch remarkable sums. You might be surprised to find that this seemingly ordinary coin can be worth an extraordinary amount of money under the right circumstances. The 1965 Washington quarter is part of the series that honors George Washington, the first president of the United States. On the obverse, you'll see Washington's profile, facing left, with the word Liberty above and the date 1965 below. The reverse side features the iconic bald eagle, which has been a part of the design for decades. But while the design is familiar, the 1965 quarter is unique in one very important way. It was the first year that quarters were struck without silver. Prior to 1965, U.S. quarters were made of 90% silver, but in 1965, due to a shortage of silver and the rising cost of minting coins, the U.S. Treasury decided to switch to a clad composition of copper and nickel for quarters. This change marked the end of an era and is an essential detail to know when evaluating the value of a 1965 quarter. Now, you might be thinking, if this coin is made of copper and nickel, how could it be worth much more than a few cents? That's a great question, and the answer lies in the fact that, while most 1965 Washington quarters are relatively common, there are certain factors that can greatly increase their value. One of the biggest factors is the condition of the coin. As with any collectible, a well-preserved coin is worth far more than one that has been worn down by years of circulation. This means that a 1965 Washington quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition can command a premium price. However, the true potential value of the 1965 Washington quarter doesn't just come from its condition. The most valuable versions of this coin are those that feature minting errors, mistakes made during the production process that result in unique and highly sought-after characteristics. These errors are what can turn a relatively common coin into a rare and valuable collector's item. For example, one of the most valuable types of errors you can find in a 1965 Washington quarter is a double die error. This occurs when the coin die, which is used to strike the design onto the coin, becomes misaligned or damaged. This results in some parts of the design being stamped more than once, making them appear doubled. In the case of a 1965 Washington quarter, this could mean that the word Liberty, the date 1965, or even parts of Washington's profile are doubled or blurred. This type of error is particularly rare and highly collectible, making it one of the most coveted variations of the 1965 quarter. Another possible error to look for is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the minting press, causing part of the design to be cut off or missing. With an off-center 1965 quarter, you might find that part of the eagle on the reverse is missing, or that the coin has an incomplete edge. These off-center errors are not only visually interesting, but they are also quite rare, which makes them highly valuable to collectors. Additionally, there are also clipped planchet errors that can occur when the metal strip used to create the coins is improperly cut before it's struck. This results in coins that have a jagged or irregular edge, making them stand out from other, more standard quarters. A 1965 Washington quarter with this kind of error is considered highly unusual and could be worth significantly more than a coin without any defects. So, if you come across a 1965 Washington quarter, it's worth taking a closer look to see if it features any of these minting errors. Even if the coin appears to be in average condition, a minor error could significantly boost its value. The rarity of these errors is what makes them so valuable, and collectors are constantly searching for coins with these unique characteristics. Another factor that can influence the value of a 1965 Washington quarter is the coin's provenance. Coins with an interesting or notable history, such as those that have been part of significant collections or auctions, can command higher prices simply because of their background. If a 1965 quarter has been kept in excellent condition, has been verified as a rare air variety, and has an interesting story behind it, it could end up fetching a premium at auction. Now, let's talk about the value of a 1965 Washington quarter in more concrete terms. While most 1965 quarters are worth their face value of 25 cents, the rarer examples with minting errors can be worth substantially more. For example, a 1965 Washington quarter with a double die error could easily fetch several $1,000s, depending on the severity of the error and the coin's condition. But the highest value 1965 quarters are those that are in near-perfect condition, feature rare minting errors, and have been authenticated by professional grading services. Some of these rare 1965 Washington quarters have been known to sell for as much as $145,000. Yes, $145,000. This price is not the norm for every 1965 Washington quarter, but it highlights the tremendous potential that these coins hold, especially when they possess unique errors or are in exceptional condition. If you happen to find one of these rare coins, it could be worth an impressive sum that far exceeds what you might expect from a coin that was once just another piece of pocket change. In conclusion, the 1965 Washington quarter may seem like a simple coin at first, but its historical significance, the potential for minting errors, and the rarity of well-preserved examples make it a valuable addition to any collection. If you're a coin enthusiast or collector, don't overlook this seemingly ordinary coin. With the right characteristics, the 1965 Washington quarter can be worth far more than its face value, potentially even as much as $145,000. So next time you find a 1965 quarter, take a closer look. You never know, you might be holding on to a rare, valuable piece of American history. Top 2. When you think of coins that might be hiding significant value, the 1979 Washington quarter dollar might not immediately come to mind. After all, it's just another coin in the long-running series of Washington quarters, right? But what if I told you that this seemingly ordinary 25-cent coin could actually be worth a lot more than you think? While most 1979 quarters circulate as everyday pocket change, there are specific instances where this coin could fetch incredible amounts in the right condition or with the right features. And today, we're going to explore how a 1979 Washington quarter can be much more than just a common coin. The design of the 1979 Washington quarter is the same as most quarters produced since the 1930s, featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and the bald eagle on the reverse, with an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other. But just because the design is familiar doesn't mean that this coin doesn't hold unique potential. When it comes to rare coins, the devil is often in the details, and the 1979 quarter is no exception. To understand why the 1979 Washington quarter could be worth significantly more than its face value. Let's begin by looking at the coin's basic features. Like many quarters produced around this time, it was made from a composition of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. So, it doesn't carry the silver content that might make coins from earlier years valuable. However, just because it lacks precious metal doesn't mean it lacks value. The key to finding a valuable 1979 Washington quarter lies in its rarity, condition, and the possibility of minting errors. Like all coins, the condition in which a 1979 quarter survives plays a significant role in determining its worth. Coins that are in mint condition, or that have been well preserved, will always be worth more than coins that have been heavily circulated and worn down. A 1979 quarter that is in pristine, uncirculated condition could already have a higher value than its face value, particularly if it has been graded highly by a professional service. However, the real potential for a 1979 Washington quarter comes from its ability to showcase unique characteristics, such as minting errors. These errors can make certain coins extraordinarily rare and highly desirable among collectors. If you've ever heard of a coin being sold for thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars, it's often because it has a specific error that makes it stand out from the thousands of other coins minted in that same year. For example, one of the most valuable types of errors you can find on a 1979 quarter is a double die error. This occurs when the design elements of the coin are struck more than once, creating a doubling effect. On a 1979 Washington quarter, this might result in the date 1979 or the word liberty being doubled or distorted. These types of errors are rare, and because they are the result of a minting mistake, they are often highly prized by collectors. If you find a 1979 Washington quarter with a clearly visible double die error, it could significantly increase the value of the coin, making it worth much more than just a quarter. In addition to the double die error, there are also other types of minting mistakes that can occur, like the off-center strike. This error happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the minting press, causing part of the design to be missing or incomplete. In the case of the 1979 Washington quarter, an off-center strike might mean that part of Washington's portrait or the eagle on the reverse is missing or partially visible. These coins are visually striking and can also be valuable to collectors who specialize in minting errors. It's also worth noting that the 1979 Washington quarter, while not as rare as some other coin varieties, is still significant to collectors because of its historical context. The late 1970s were a time of economic change in the U.S., and the coinage produced during this era tells a story of the nation's transition. Collectors often appreciate coins from this period for their role in American history, and this can drive demand for these pieces in the marketplace, but even beyond minting errors or historical value. The rarity of certain varieties of the 1979 Washington quarter can influence its price. For example, a particular mint mark, such as the Philadelphia or Denver mint, can make a difference in the coin's rarity. A small difference in the number of coins minted at each location can have a big impact on availability, with rarer varieties becoming more sought after over time. For instance, coins minted in smaller quantities or under unique circumstances may be more valuable than the more common versions. Now, let's talk about the real price potential of a 1979 Washington quarter. While most of the quarters from this year are worth no more than their face value or a small premium for those in excellent condition, the rare and error-filled specimens have much higher potential. The rarity of minting mistakes combined with high demand from coin collectors can lead to some surprising results. If you happen to find a 1979 Washington quarter in exceptional condition or with a noticeable minting error, it could fetch prices that far exceed your expectations. For example, an error-free, well-preserved 1979 quarter could sell for a few $100s, depending on its condition. However, a 1979 quarter with a major minting flaw, such as a double die or an off-center strike, could command an impressive sum. In fact, there have been reports of 1979 Washington quarters selling for $85,000. Yes, $85,000. This price might seem surprising for a coin that was once just another part of regular currency, but when you consider the rarity and value of an error coin in exceptional condition, it makes perfect sense. A quarter with the right minting error or in pristine condition can easily fetch a price in this range, especially if it has been graded and authenticated by a professional grading service. So, if you come across a 1979 Washington quarter, it's worth taking the time to inspect it closely. Look for any signs of minting errors like a double die or off-center strike. Even if the coin looks like an ordinary quarter, it could be hiding something rare underneath the surface. And don't forget the power of professional grading. Getting your coin authenticated by a trusted service can greatly increase its value and help you determine whether it's worth selling or adding to your collection. In conclusion, the 1979 Washington quarter is a coin that may appear ordinary at first, but it holds hidden potential for those who know what to look for. Whether it's in pristine condition, has a rare minting error, or features a unique variety, this coin can be far more valuable than its face value suggests. The next time you find a 1979 Washington quarter in your pocket change, take a closer look. You might just have a coin worth $85,000 waiting to be discovered. Top 3. When most people think of the United States quarter, they might only consider its simple utility as part of their everyday change. But for coin collectors and numismatists, the Washington quarter holds much more significance, especially when it comes to certain years and variations. One such year that holds particular intrigue is 1982, a seemingly ordinary year that produced a coin with an exceptional story. Today, we're going to dive into the fascinating world of the 1982 Washington quarter and why it could potentially be worth far more than its face value of 25 cents. While most people might not give this coin a second glance, the 1982 quarter has a lot more to offer, especially when you know what to look for. First, let's take a moment to look at the 1982 Washington quarter in its basic form. The coin features the classic design that has been used since the 1930s. On the obverse, we see George Washington's portrait facing left, with the word Liberty inscribed above and the year 1982 below. On the reverse, we have the iconic eagle with an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other, surrounded by the words United States of America and E pluribus unum. While the design itself is timeless, the 1982 Washington quarter stands out due to certain characteristics that can influence its value, specifically the condition of the coin and the possibility of minting errors. In general, coins produced by the U.S. Mint are struck in large quantities, and the 1982 quarter was no different. It was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, with the majority of the coins being produced for regular circulation. The composition of the 1982 Washington quarter is made up of a copper-nickel clad, meaning it doesn't contain silver, which makes it less valuable based solely on metal content. However, as with many coins, the true value lies not in the metal but in the rarity and condition of the coin, as well as the presence of any unusual characteristics or errors that might make it stand out from the rest. So, why would a 1982 Washington quarter be worth far more than just 25 cents? One of the key factors that can elevate the value of this coin is the presence of minting errors. These errors, which occur when something goes wrong during the coin's production, can make a seemingly ordinary coin incredibly valuable. Minting errors are a common reason why a coin might be worth far more than its face value, and the 1982 Washington quarter is no exception. One of the most significant errors that can occur on a 1982 quarter is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the design onto the coin becomes misaligned, causing some of the design to appear doubled or blurred. On a 1982 Washington quarter, a doubled die could result in the date 1982, the word Liberty, or other parts of the coin's design being stamped more than once, creating a noticeable doubling effect. A double die error can make a coin incredibly valuable, as it is rare and desirable to collectors who specialize in minting mistakes. The more noticeable and pronounced the doubling, the higher the potential value of the coin. Another type of minting error that can occur is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not perfectly aligned in the minting press, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted. For a 1982 Washington quarter, an off-center strike could mean that part of the eagle's wings or Washington's profile is missing, or the entire coin might have an uneven, irregular edge. These types of coins are extremely rare and can be worth significantly more than a standard quarter, especially if the off-center strike is particularly noticeable. If you find a 1982 Washington quarter with an off-center strike, it's definitely worth taking a closer look, as it could be a unique and valuable piece. Another minting error to look for is the clipped planchet error. This occurs when the metal strip used to create the coins is not properly cut, resulting in a coin that has a portion of its edge missing or jagged. A 1982 Washington quarter with a clipped planchet error can be especially valuable if the missing portion is substantial enough to make the coin visually striking. These types of errors are fairly uncommon and can significantly increase the value of the coin. While minting errors are some of the most exciting features that can make a 1982 Washington quarter valuable, the overall condition of the coin also plays a crucial role in determining its worth. Coins that are well-preserved and in near-perfect condition are always more valuable to collectors. If a 1982 Washington quarter is uncirculated, with no visible wear, scratches, or tarnishing, it could be worth more than a coin that has been extensively handled and circulated. In the world of numismatics, coin condition is graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher grades indicating better preservation. A 1982 quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition can fetch a premium price, especially if it is verified by a professional grading service. Now, let's get to the big question. How much can a 1982 Washington quarter be worth? While most of these quarters are worth just their face value or a small premium for excellent condition, the value can skyrocket if the coin has a significant minting error or is in an exceptional state of preservation. Rare minting errors, such as a double die or off-center strike, can make a 1982 Washington quarter worth thousands of dollars. But the highest value examples can reach extraordinary amounts, especially when the coin is both in excellent condition and has been professionally graded. For the right 1982 Washington quarter, a coin with a notable minting error, great condition, and perhaps some historical significance, it's not out of the realm of possibility for it to sell for as much as $75,000. Yes, You read that right, $75,000. This price isn't typical for every 1982 quarter, but it demonstrates just how valuable certain errors and rare specimens can be when it comes to numismatics.so. If you happen to find a 1982 Washington quarter in your collection or in your pocket change, don't just dismiss it as another ordinary coin. Take a moment to examine it carefully. Look for signs of minting errors, such as a doubled die, off-center strike, or clipped planchet. And, of course, pay attention to the coin's condition. If it's in pristine shape, it might just be worth a lot more than you think. A little attention to detail could potentially lead you to a coin worth $75,000. In conclusion, while the 1982 Washington quarter may seem like just another piece of pocket change, it can actually hold significant value under the right circumstances. Whether it's in exceptional condition, features a rare minting error, or is simply a unique variety, this coin has the potential to be worth far more than its face value. So, next time you come across a 1982 Washington quarter, take a closer look. You might just have a rare treasure on your hands, worth as much as $75,000. Top 4. Imagine walking past a coin that, at first glance, seems completely ordinary, just another quarter. It's the 1983 Washington quarter, a coin that you may have held in your pocket many times without ever considering its potential value. But what if I told you that a 1983 Washington quarter could be worth far more than its face value of just 25 cents? And not only that, some rare and highly sought-after examples could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Yes, a quarter could be worth a staggering amount of money. Let's delve deep into the fascinating world of the 1983 Washington quarter, where small details can lead to big rewards. The 1983 Washington quarter, much like other coins from the era, features the same iconic design. On the obverse, we have a profile of George Washington, America's first president, facing left. The word Liberty arches above him, and the year 1983 sits below. On the reverse side, we find the majestic eagle, perched on a branch with its wings outstretched, holding an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other. The reverse also includes the words United States of America and the national motto E pluribus unum. At first glance, it might seem like just another standard coin. However, as with all numismatic treasures, it's not just about the coin's design, but about rarity, condition, and potential minting errors that can make the 1983 quarter a real goldmine for collectors. So, let's break it down and see what makes this coin worth investigating further. The first thing you'll want to understand about the 1983 Washington quarter is its composition. These quarters were minted using the copper-nickel-clad method, meaning that there's no precious metal like silver involved. However, what this coin lacks in silver content, it can make up for in rarity and condition. While most 1983 Washington quarters were produced in high quantities, it's the coins that stand out due to their unique characteristics or imperfections that can fetch remarkable prices. One of the most exciting aspects of any coin, including the 1983 quarter, is the possibility of minting errors. These errors, while not common, can make a coin exponentially more valuable. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the process of making the coin. These mistakes can range from something as subtle as a misalignment to more dramatic issues that can drastically affect the coin's appearance. In the case of the 1983 Washington quarter, some of these errors can significantly increase the value of the coin. One of the most valuable types of minting errors is the double die error. A double die occurs when the die that strikes the coin is misaligned during the minting process, creating a doubling effect on certain parts of the design. If you find a 1983 Washington quarter with a double die error, you may notice that the numbers in the year 1983 or the word Liberty appear doubled or misaligned. This error is highly desirable among collectors as it represents a mistake made during the minting process, making the coin unique and rare. Another error you might find on a 1983 Washington quarter is an off-center strike. An off-center strike happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the press during the minting process, causing part of the design to be missing. For a 1983 quarter, this could mean that part of Washington's portrait or the eagle on the reverse is cut off, or the coin might have a lopsided appearance. These types of errors are highly sought after by collectors, as they make a coin stand out from the thousands of perfectly struck quarters. An off-center 1983 quarter can be worth significantly more than a standard, properly minted coin. Additionally, there are other errors that could appear on the 1983 quarter, such as a clipped planchet. This occurs when the metal strip used to create the coins is not properly cut, leaving a portion of the coin's edge missing. A clipped planchet on a 1983 quarter might make the coin look slightly jagged or uneven, but it's precisely these imperfections that make it valuable to collectors who specialize in minting errors. These types of coins, while rare, can fetch a premium price at auction, depending on the severity of the error. However, even if your 1983 Washington quarter is free of any minting errors, the coin's condition is a key factor in determining its value. Coins that are in excellent condition, especially those that have been well preserved and are free from any scratches, discoloration, or wear, are more valuable than coins that have been heavily circulated. The highest quality coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin with no visible wear. If you happen to find a 1983 Washington quarter in uncirculated condition, meaning it looks almost as good as the day it was minted, it could be worth much more than a typical quarter. Professional grading can help determine the value of the coin, as it provides a way to standardize the assessment of the coin's condition. Coins that are graded higher, particularly those in near mint or mint condition, tend to fetch more money because they are in greater demand among collectors who are looking for the best specimens. Now, let's get into the exciting part. How much could a 1983 Washington quarter actually be worth? While most 1983 quarters are worth just their face value or a slight premium for coins in excellent condition, some rare, error-filled examples have sold for incredibly high prices. If your 1983 quarter has a prominent minting error, such as a double die or an off-center strike, the value could skyrocket. Depending on the severity and visibility of the error, as well as the coin's condition, a single 1983 Washington quarter could be worth thousands of dollars. And in some cases, an especially rare and error-filled coin can be worth even more. For example, some 1983 quarters that have been well preserved and feature a major minting error have sold for as much as $70,000. Yes, $70,000. This price is not typical for every 1983 Washington quarter, but it's a reminder of how valuable these seemingly ordinary coins can be when they have something special about them. In summary, the 1983 Washington quarter is a coin that many people overlook, but it has the potential to be a real treasure. Whether it's a rare minting error, such as a double die or off-center strike, or just a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, the 1983 quarter can be worth far more than just 25 cents. If you happen to find one of these coins, take a closer look. Inspect it for any signs of minting errors, check the condition, and consider having it professionally graded. Who knows, you might just be holding on to a coin that could be worth $70,000. So, the next time you see a 1983 Washington quarter, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Take a moment to appreciate its hidden potential. You might be in for a very pleasant surprise. Top 5. In the world of coin collecting, the United States Washington quarter is a symbol of history, tradition, and craftsmanship. However, not all quarters are created equal. While most Washington quarters are valued at just their face value of 25 cents, certain years and variations of this beloved coin can command staggering prices. Among these, the 1994 Washington quarter is one that often goes unnoticed by casual collectors but has an intriguing story to tell, especially when you know what to look for. The Washington quarter, as we know it today, was first introduced in 1932, featuring the profile of George Washington, America's first president, on the obverse. On the reverse, we see the powerful image of an eagle clutching an olive branch and arrows, a symbol of peace and strength. This design has remained largely unchanged for decades, but like all coins, the years of production vary, and each one has its unique characteristics. When we talk about the 1994 Washington quarter, it's important to note that the vast majority of these coins were minted in large quantities, as they were part of the regular circulating currency. Produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, these quarters were made with the traditional copper-nickel clad composition, which doesn't have the precious metal value of older silver quarters. So, at face value, the 1994 quarter isn't worth much more than the quarter you used to buy a cup of coffee. But here's where things get interesting. While most 1994 quarters are of standard production quality, there are certain characteristics that can make these coins stand out, turning them from simple pocket change into rare and valuable treasures. The first factor to consider when looking at any coin's potential value is its condition. Over time, coins that have been well preserved tend to hold more value. Coins that are in excellent condition, unblemished, without any noticeable wear or tarnishing, are in higher demand among collectors. A 1994 Washington quarter in mint or near mint condition can be worth a little more than its face value. But the value doesn't stop there. Some collectors are willing to pay a premium for a 1994 quarter that has been carefully preserved and kept in uncirculated condition, as it's increasingly difficult to find them in perfect shape after decades of circulation. Now, let's dive deeper into what makes a 1994 Washington quarter truly valuable. While the coin itself may seem standard, certain rare characteristics, like minting errors, can drastically increase its worth. Minting errors are mistakes that occur during the production process, and they are often the key to discovering coins worth far more than their face value. These errors, which are unique to each coin, can make an otherwise ordinary quarter worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One of the most sought-after minting errors is the double die error. A double die happens when the design on the coin is stamped twice, leading to a visible doubling effect on the coin's features. This can happen with various parts of the coin, such as the date, the word, Liberty, or other inscriptions. In the case of the 1994 Washington quarter, if you spot a double die error, especially on the year 1994 or Liberty, that coin could be much more valuable than you might imagine. A well-defined double die on a 1994 quarter could make it incredibly appealing to collectors, who will pay a premium for these rare examples. Another potential error to watch for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin isn't properly aligned in the minting press, resulting in part of the design being struck off-center. For a 1994 Washington quarter, this could mean that part of the coin's design, such as the eagle or the lettering, might be missing or shifted. Off-center strikes are particularly valuable when they are extreme, with a significant portion of the design missing. Such quarters are rare and highly sought after by collectors who specialize in minting mistakes, while these minting errors are some of the most valuable types of flaws. There are also other types of issues that could make a 1994 Washington quarter more valuable. For example, clip planchet error occurs when the metal strip used to create the coins is cut improperly, leaving part of the coin's edge jagged or missing. These coins are a bit rarer and can command a higher price at auction, especially if the error is particularly pronounced. As for the specific design of the 1994 quarter, there were no major changes from the standard Washington quarter design. However, that doesn't mean that this coin is entirely without value. In fact, despite being a more modern issue, the 1994 Washington quarter has gained attention for the few pieces that feature rare minting errors. If you happen to come across one of these coins, it's worth taking the time to closely examine it for any potential mistakes that could make it worth far more than you expect. Now, let's get to the big question. Just how much can a 1994 Washington quarter be worth? While the average 1994 quarter is worth only 25 cents, coins with significant minting errors or those in exceptional condition can be worth much more. For example, a 1994 Washington quarter with a rare minting error like a double die or an off-center strike can fetch several $100s, depending on the severity of the error and the overall condition of the coin. However, in some cases, the value can go much higher. In fact, if you find a 1994 Washington quarter with a particularly rare and significant error, especially in flawless condition, it could be worth up to $44,000. Yes, $44,000. While this is certainly not the typical price for every 1994 quarter, it highlights the immense potential for finding hidden treasure in your coin collection. So, while it may seem like just another quarter, a 1994 Washington quarter with the right characteristics could be worth more than most people would ever imagine. In summary, the 1994 Washington quarter may seem like just another modern coin, but it's one that has the potential to surprise. Whether it's a minting error like a double die or an off-center strike, or simply a well-preserved, uncirculated example, this quarter could be much more valuable than it seems at first glance. If you have a 1994 Washington quarter, take a moment to examine it carefully. Look for any signs of minting errors, check its condition, and consider having it graded by a professional. You might just have a coin in your possession that could be worth as much as $44,000. Next time you come across a 1994 Washington quarter, don't just toss it aside. You may very well be holding on to a rare piece of numismatic history, one that could be worth far more than the pocket change you thought it was. Happy hunting, and remember, the world of coin collecting is filled with surprises. Top 6. If you're a coin enthusiast or someone just starting to get into numismatics, You might be surprised to learn that even some modern coins have the potential to be worth far more than their face value. Take, for example, the 1995 Washington quarter. At first glance, it may seem like just another ordinary quarter, something you might pay for a cup of coffee or a quick snack. However, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. What if I told you that this seemingly simple coin, minted in the 1990s, could be worth a lot more than the typical 25 cents? The 1995 Washington quarter is part of a long-standing tradition of American coinage, featuring the portrait of George Washington on the obverse, a design that has been in circulation for decades. Since its debut in 1932, the Washington quarter has remained a constant presence in American currency, with only slight alterations over the years. This coin is easily recognizable with the inscription Liberty above Washington's bust, the date 1995 below, and the national motto, E pluribus unum, around the edge. On the reverse, the eagle, symbolizing strength and freedom, holds an olive branch and arrows, underscoring the balance of peace and preparedness that the United States stands for. So, what makes the 1995 Washington quarter so special, especially when there are millions of these coins out there circulating today? It's not necessarily the design, but the potential for certain rare characteristics or errors that can make a 1995 quarter worth significantly more. When it comes to coin collecting, it's all about finding those rare and unique specimens, those that are different from the vast majority and have some special attribute that makes them stand out. One of the key elements that can elevate the value of a 1995 Washington quarter is its condition. Coins that have been well preserved, free from wear and damage, are always more desirable to collectors. If you happen to have a 1995 quarter that looks like it's fresh from the mint, with sharp details and minimal signs of handling, you could have a coin worth more than just a few cents. These types of coins are known as uncirculated coins, and they tend to command higher prices because they are rare compared to the ones that have been worn down through everyday use. However, uncirculated coins aren't the only ones that can fetch a premium. The 1995 Washington quarter, like many other coins, can also have value depending on whether it has been struck with any minting errors. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the coin production process, causing a mistake that makes the coin unique. These errors are highly sought after by collectors because they add an element of rarity and intrigue to the coin. In some cases, a coin that might appear to be defective to the casual observer can actually be worth thousands of dollars due to these errors. So, what types of errors should you be looking for on a 1995 Washington quarter? One of the most valuable errors to look out for is the double die error. A double die occurs when the die that strikes the coin malfunctions, resulting in the design appearing twice or doubled in certain areas. If you have a 1995 quarter with a double die, you'll notice that parts of the design, such as the date or the word Liberty, are doubled or shifted slightly, creating a very noticeable effect. A 1995 Washington quarter with this type of error can be worth a lot more than a standard quarter, as it's a rare and highly coveted mistake that collectors are always on the lookout for. Another minting error that could increase the value of your 1995 quarter is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the press during the minting process, causing part of the coin to be left blank or distorted. Off-center coins can be incredibly valuable, especially when the error is extreme and a significant portion of the coin's design is missing. If you find a 1995 quarter that has a noticeable off-center strike, it could be worth far more than its face value. Then, there's the possibility of finding a 1995 quarter with a clipped planchet error. This occurs when the metal strip used to make the coin is not properly cut, leading to a portion of the coin's edge being missing or uneven. Clipped planchets are relatively rare, and when found on a Washington quarter, they can make the coin much more valuable to collectors who specialize in minting errors. If you spot a 1995 Washington quarter with a clipped edge, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look, as it could be worth a significant amount more than you initially thought. While minting errors are one of the biggest drivers of value in coins, it's also worth noting that the rarity of a particular coin can play a huge role in its overall worth. Even though the 1995 Washington quarter is not considered a particularly rare coin in terms of how many were minted, certain factors, such as the condition of the coin and the presence of any minting errors, can make a particular example more valuable. Coins that are hard to find in good condition or that have unique features will always be in demand, even if they were produced in large quantities. But now, let's talk about the most exciting part. Just how much could your 1995 Washington quarter be worth? You might be surprised to hear that even a relatively common coin, when in perfect condition or with a minting error, can fetch a staggering price. If you happen to have a 1995 Washington quarter with a noticeable minting error, such as a doubled die or off-center strike, or if you've kept it in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth up to $40,000. Yes, that's right, $40,000 for a coin that you might have dismissed as just another piece of pocket change. This is the power of rarity and the allure of numismatics. A simple coin, like the 1995 Washington quarter, can hold hidden value for the keen-eyed collector. Of course, not every 1995 Washington quarter will be worth this much. Most of them will only be worth their face value or slightly more in excellent condition. However, it's the thrill of discovery that makes coin collecting so exciting. The key is to pay attention to the details. Check for any minting errors, and always keep an eye out for coins that look exceptional or unique in some way. Coins from the 1990s, like the 1995 Washington quarter, are still in circulation, so it's possible that a rare find could be just around the corner. In conclusion, the 1995 Washington quarter is an excellent example of how a seemingly ordinary coin can be worth much more than its face value, especially if it features a minting error or is in exceptional condition. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a beginner just starting out, it's important to understand that the value of coins goes far beyond their initial design. Keep your eyes peeled for those hidden gems, and you may just discover that a 1995 Washington quarter is worth $40,000 or more. So next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a quarter, take a moment to inspect it. You could be holding a rare and valuable treasure. Top 7. When it comes to coin collecting, there are some years that stand out more than others, and if you're a coin enthusiast, the 1996 Washington quarter might just be one of those coins you've overlooked. On the surface, this coin may seem like just another quarter from the 1990s, but there's more to it than meets the eye. What if I told you that a 1996 Washington quarter, in the right condition and with the right characteristics, could be worth thousands of dollars? Sounds surprising, right? Let's explore why the 1996 Washington quarter is a coin worth paying attention to and how you could potentially have a valuable piece of history in your hands. The Washington quarter, named after America's first president, has been a staple of U.S. currency for nearly a century. Introduced in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday, this coin has featured his likeness on the obverse, with an eagle on the reverse, for the majority of its existence. The 1996 quarter is no different in terms of its design, but what sets it apart from other years is the unique history surrounding it. It was minted at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, just like most of the circulating quarters from this era. But there are certain factors that contribute to the potential value of the 1996 quarter. One of the key factors in determining the value of a coin is its condition. Most of the 1996 quarters you come across today are likely to have been in circulation for quite some time, which means they might be worn down or show signs of damage. However, the rarest and most valuable examples are those that have been carefully preserved and kept in excellent condition. Coins that are in uncirculated condition, meaning they've never been used in daily transactions and have been stored away from any wear and tear, are much more valuable than those that have circulated for years. So, if you happen to find a 1996 Washington quarter in pristine condition, one that has sharp details, no visible scratches or scuffs, and still retains its luster, it's possible that it could fetch more than just a quarter's worth of change. A well-preserved coin is considered more rare and desirable, which naturally makes it more valuable to collectors. But while a high-quality, uncirculated coin is definitely worth more, the true value lies in the rarity and uniqueness of the coin itself, especially when it comes to minting errors. Minting errors are one of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting, as they can turn an ordinary coin into a rare and highly valuable piece. These errors occur during the minting process when something goes wrong, resulting in a coin that is different from what was intended. For the 1996 Washington quarter, there are a few key errors that could make it worth far more than its face value. One of the most sought-after types of errors in coin collecting is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck twice by the die, creating a doubled or distorted image on the coin. For a 1996 Washington quarter, This could mean that the word liberty or the date 1996 appears doubled, or the eagle on the reverse might have a similar effect. These double die errors are extremely rare, and when they do appear, they become a prized find for collectors. If you happen to come across a 1996 Washington quarter with this error, it could increase the coin's value by hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity of the doubling and the overall condition of the coin. Another minting error to watch out for on the 1996 Washington quarter is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not perfectly aligned in the press, causing part of the design to be struck outside the intended area. If you find a 1996 quarter that has a noticeable off-center strike, where part of the design is missing or shifted to one side, it could be a rare error worth more than the typical coin. Off-center coins are highly collectible, especially if the mistake is extreme enough to make the coin look unusual or striking. The more extreme the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes to collectors looking for something unique. In addition to double die and off-center strikes, there's also the possibility of other errors, such as a clipped planchet. This happens when the metal strip used to make the coin is not cut properly before it's struck, causing part of the edge of the coin to be missing or jagged. While this type of error is less common, it still holds value for those who collect coins with unique features, and a clipped planchet on a 1996 Washington quarter could make the coin worth a lot more than its face value. It's not just about the errors, though sometimes the rarity of a coin and the condition it's in can play a significant role in determining its worth. Even without minting errors, a 1996 quarter in mint state could be worth a premium to collectors. While the 1996 Washington quarter wasn't produced in particularly low quantities, finding one that has been carefully preserved and kept in pristine condition can make it a highly sought-after coin. There are collectors who specialize in acquiring the highest quality examples of every year, and the 1996 quarter, being a more modern issue, is still on many collectors' radar. So, what's the bottom line when it comes to the 1996 Washington quarter's value? While most of these coins are worth no more than 25 cents, certain factors, like minting errors, exceptional condition, and rarity, can make them worth a significant amount of money. If you happen to find a 1996 quarter that features a rare minting error or is in pristine, uncirculated condition, you could be looking at a coin worth more than you ever imagined. In fact, a 1996 Washington quarter with one of these rare features could be worth as much as $36,000. Yes, you heard that right. $36,000. That's a staggering price for a coin that, at first glance, may seem like just another quarter. It's a reminder that the world of coin collecting can be full of surprises, and sometimes, the most ordinary pieces of currency can turn into extraordinary treasures. If you happen to come across a 1996 Washington quarter, take the time to inspect it carefully. Look for any potential minting errors, check its condition, and consider having it appraised or graded by a professional. You just might have a coin that's worth far more than you initially thought. In the end, coin collecting is about more than just owning a piece of history. It's about discovering the hidden treasures that others may overlook. So, the next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a 1996 Washington quarter, take a moment to examine it closely. You could be holding on to a rare and valuable coin worth $36,000. Happy collecting!